Okay, so once again, I have started streaming. So for those of you who are here new, just check whenever the screen turns colorful, there's content on the screen. Come back and watch here once again. Okay, once the screen has content, you start watching from there. And whenever I'm not doing something, I'm sitting idle, I will turn the screen black. Okay, done. Chalo. So let's start with lecture number 2.3, and this will cover objects and modules, basically the basics. So what is a module? A module is a file or a collection of code that you can reuse in other programs, right? So basically, I made a program here. Let's assume that this box is my program, and I have another set of program somewhere else. What I can do is just simply use this right here. Okay, that's how simple it gets. Okay, in JavaScript, modules help you organize code into separate files and share code between them. Okay, so you'll will have to elaborate what does this line exactly mean, but we'll come back to this once we are complete with the explanation of the whole thing, right? Let me have a sip of water. Import and export. You can export things from one file and then import them into the other, right? So let's say in module1.js we have export constant c with this id which is provided here, and then function energym. This function returns m.c.c. Okay, so for any number it will square it and then multiply with a given number, given entry that is here. Okay, remember that this is a way of writing function which is taught in week 1. And in the other file, what we'll need to do is import c, this constant c, and the energy function itself, from this location. See, this location, from inside quotes this location. Now let me show this. So suppose we have two separate files. Let's call this bunny. Mind my spelling, I'm writing with a mouse. And let's call it 8. Let's call this file 8. Okay, this is the location of bunny. Okay, actually this is the name, but you get the point, right? And we have called this file here in the file 8. After all of this hodgepodge, when we call the function energy2, which is located here in this file, it does get called, and according to this definition of the function that is defined, it gives us the result. Why is it not showing us the result? However, I think the result should be square of this times 2. Let's write this number to be something logical. Let's call it 10. Okay, so 10 square, okay, 10 square 100, 100 times 2, 200. Alright. For the modules to work in HTML, include your script with type and then between the quotes, double quotes, module. Okay, so in your HTML code, you'll have to write this src main.js, and the type should be initially mentioned, that is module. And let's elaborate this line. Control C. Where is perplexity? So let's see what perplexity says. So modules are a fundamental feature that help you organize code into separate files and share code between them. This modular approach is especially important as the JavaScript program grows larger and more complex, whether in browser or in server with Node.js. What is a module? It is a file containing variable functions and classes that can be used in other parts of your program. And modules help break down big projects into smaller manageable sections. Modules can be imported and exported using special syntax. And apart from this, why use modules? Why do we use modules, right? Basically, separation of concern. Each module handles a specific feature, These are reusable. Namespace management, basically modules keep variables and functions scoped to the module, preventing name conflicts in global scope, right? Teams can work on different modules independently, making teamwork easier. How do you use modules? Basically, export function. You're exporting this function from math.js module, and you're importing this function from math.js module using the path, and then using the function add from right here, and printing it using console.log. All right. Let's move on to what is object in Java. An object is a collection of key value pairs. Okay, we have already defined what an object is earlier. Okay, so this is an object which has a key, and that particular key has a value which can be string, name, or a function. All right, we can print a specific part and also the function inside the object. Adding methods to objects, so you can add functions as properties to a given object. Okay, so for a particular object, the functions inside that object which will be used as properties are called methods. So from now on, the word method will be used more often. We have an example here. So we have a calculator object which has key a assigned the value y, and another key add which has been assigned a function. Okay, when we print this using using the add key and giving that key, since it's a function, we are also providing a value. This turns us 15. This turns out to be 15. Why? Because x inside the function is 10, and 10 plus a, which is 5, becomes 15. Simple. Let's study about copying objects. Okay, so reference versus copy. So if you assign one object to another, both variable points to the same object, okay, which is called reference. Changing one will change the other. So let's say in the example, let's say you have an array. No. You have an object, and you have also assigned another variable to that object. If you do some chedkhani, some masti with this initial object, and then what you do is you print y.a, then the value inside the y is also changed. So x.a, that is the value of this key, is changed from 5 to 3. So since it's changed inside the original x and we have assigned y equals x, the value inside the y is also changed. Unlike in Python, this would not have happened. Y would have been an individual variable, individual element, but that is not the case. Here in JavaScript, if you change one, the other will change too. Alright, to make a copy, use spread operator. Okay, so if you have z, that is using spread operator to fill in the blank, and you do some masti with x, okay, masti with x, the elements of x, keys of x, okay. However, when you print z using the spread operator, the z will not change at all. All right. The modules, and let's move on to modules and exports. You can export variables, functions, or classes from a module. We all know that, and you can also import them into another file. What we did not know was that we can rename these. We can somehow rename these. All right. Okay, this is a big example. Is there some way to? No worries. Let's just push the example into another one. Okay, another page. in module1.js, export the constant that is a variable having the speed of light. Okay, so that was what was given earlier. Okay, and then export another function m, then which does e equals mc square. Okay, so this is e equals mc square. Let me write this here. Let me write this here. E equals m, then c. Okay, there's nothing to do this. Okay, squared, mc squared. Okay, in another file we have imported the constant that is speed of light as a variable c, and the function energy. Okay, from, always remember, where are you importing from the location dot module.js dot slash. Okay, so apparently this portion, this quote, then dot slash, then the location or the name of the file will give you from the location from where you are importing what, importing modules. Okay, default export, you can export one thing as the default from another module. Okay, so if we export default, if you use export default function energy m, another file import energy from module.js. What the hell does this mean? Let's ask GPT to explain this furthermore and a bit more in detail. Uh, we know how to import. Let's just read about default. Okay, let's just read what default is. All right. Okay, I always have to come back and check whether this is going properly or not, because if anything goes wrong, I'm F. So defining a default export allows you to export a single value. Okay, this feature is a part of ES6 module and is especially useful when your module is meant to provide one primary thing. Okay, or you can export default. Okay, or you can export default value. You can only have one default per module. No curly braces on import. Default exports are imported without curly braces. Name export versus default export. You can have multiple named exports, but only one default export per file. Okay. You can combine default and named export. Okay. We are combining default export and name export. But why do we need? Then what's so special about the default export? A single main export, you can only have one default. This is useful when your file is meant to provide one primary thing like a main function or a React component. Flexible import naming, when you import a default export, you can give it any name regardless of what it was called. Okay, what it was called in original file. Okay, so we can name it. Is this its speciality? No, that's not the case, because we are also assigning a name to a normal export. One more thing, that is We do not need curly braces. That is one more thing. Okay. When your file is focused on exporting one main thing like a utility or a function. Okay. So basically name exports can export multiple things and default can only do for single thing. Okay, this is for consumer and this is for names. Let's move on. If I find something more useful, I'll just add it to the comments. Okay, objects as dictionary. You can use objects to store data with name keys just like dictionary. Yes, that's what exactly what we have been doing. Here keys are slice, Bob, Carol, and the values are 90, 85, and 92. If we print the scores, which was the name of this object, and go on to the key Alice, the value inside it would be printed. To loop through the keys and values, okay, let's do this. To loop through keys and values, for constant key in scores, console.log, key score and key. So this is the function to loop through the keys. Classes and prototypes. JavaScript uses prototypes for inheritance, sharing properties, methods between objects. Okay. So there's a function in some object, then you need it in another object. You can use prototype for its inheritance from one file to another. And modern JavaScript has started to support class keyword for cleaner syntax. Okay. So for a class animal, that is for an object animal, we have constructor name, and this name equals name. Then this does something that is this object has a function, which function will do. This function will do. It will write this dot name, apparently the name that you will input, and make a sound. This will be a string. So let dog equals to new animal and input it as a new entry inside the object. When we apply dog.speak, that is when we call the function inside this object animal, what it will do is this dot name, that is dog, which is written right here, and then the string which will follow, that is makes a sound. Let's go on to the activity question, as there's just key takeaways and summary in the 8th section. Alright, let's do this. Which of the following is correct? Shows the correct output. If the program written below is executed, we have a function and array. We map the function. So what it does is returns x percentage 2, which is the remainder that is left when it's divided by 2. So it's either 1 or it's either 0. Since all of these are odd numbers, it will all be 1. Okay. Which of the following shows the correct output if the program written below is executed? We have an array and another array with A. This is destructuring, classic case of destructuring. Okay, why is it so thick? I'll write it in its entirety. You can skip. Ring, destructuring. Okay, and since it's destructuring and we're finding it the value of C, how do I remove this? Since C here has an index value of 1, and index value 1 in the A has value 2, so C will be assigned value 2. Okay, that was easy. Okay, reference error, I guess in this one there will be a reference error because this is not an array. Which of the following shows the correct output if the program written below is executed? So we have 1, 2, 3, and then B, which is filled with the remaining, B's remaining part is filled with C, which comes out to be A. Okay, so I guess the first element of A will be B, and the remaining elements, that is 2 and 3, will come into C. This part will come inside C. Okay. What will be the output of the following program? The output of the following program would be, you have a new array which has 5 undefined blocks, uh, one undef 1, 3, and the rest is undefined. You have another empty uh, array made. So for I in x, every that is iterating through every element of x, y dot push I. So 1, 3, and then undefined, undefined, undefined. Basically the length would come out to be 2 or 5. So let's go with 2 first. Okay, because the undefined will have null values. No, it won't have null values. Basically the undefined value would not get pushed inside the y. Okay, and luckily all of our answers are correct this time. Let's move on to 2.4. Give me some time. The screen is going black, and for the people watching in video, thanks for watching. Okay, so we are back with lecture number 2.4, and here is the content. Okay, so in this lecture we'll study about advanced objects, that is getters and setters, context, prototypes, and classes. Okay, so getters and setters, okay, derived properties. Basically, why use them? Okay, getters and setters let you define special properties on object that look like normal variables but actually run code when you get or set them. This is useful for calculating a value on the fly and validating or transforming data when setting a value. Okay, so for example, calculating the value on the fly, that means full name from first and last name. So you have a section that is asking your first name, and then there's a section that is asking your last name. You can just derive the full name by adding those two strings, right? So we have defined the object with first as Albert, first key as Albert, then that is zeroth key as Albert, then the first index key last as Pinto. After that, we have a function and another function inside the object. So what get does, get full is a function. What it does is returns this dot first, that is the value inside the first index, the key in first, not index first, zeroth index first is a key, separates it with the space, the the space, and then also adds the last, that is 0 1, the first index which has the name last and the value Pinto. So this is get function. What will the set function do? Full, and then there's name inside it. Full is the function, and then there's a value input name inside it. What it'll do is take first and last using this dot first and this dot last, and then split it using the space between them, which we set right here. All right, so when we print it, when we print user dot full, it will give us Albert Pinto. Okay, and then for user dot full, if we see, when we initially pass user dot full, we get Albert Pinto because this function is getting passed, get function is getting passed. But when we do user dot full and enter a value, then set function is getting passed because there's a entry inside that function. So if after that we print the user first and user last, it won't be Albert Pinto, it would be John who no, not that, Doe, John Doe. Okay, so user dot full runs the getter, and user dot full equals to something, equals to a blank, runs the setter. All right, is there some way to bring this up? Let me try if there is. If there is a way to bring this and up in its entirety, right? Perfect. Because there has to be some order, right? You cannot have a bloody mesh here. So function context. All right. How much do we have here? Okay, 5 topics. Okay. Function context: call, apply, and bind. Call, apply. What happened? What happened? Limuda happened. Okay. We have call, then we have apply, and then bind. Why are they useful? So sometimes you want to run a function with a specific this value, right? The object context. The Java gives you 3 methods for this. So inside an object we have 3 methods. One is call, then it's apply, and then there's bind. So in call, it runs a function with a given this argument, okay, with a given this argument. So basically we have an object with key a having value 5. We have function add defined here outside the object, and add dot call, basically add dot call object 3 comma 4, object comma 3 comma 4. So basically what it will do is it will take one object right from here and then put the value right here. After that it will take the other value, that is 3 and 4, and put it right here. Alright, so since this dot a, which is defined in the function, which should in theory fetch a from here, which it does, and puts it here, gives us the answer 12. Alright, okay, is there a way? Where is, let me check. Okay, so there is no way to do that. I'll check it later on. Okay, let me check if the stream is going on perfectly or not. It's going on. Okay, so then we have apply like call, but arguments are passed as an array. So we have add dot apply, similar function, same function. Okay, same function. Let me copy paste it here. All right, so apply, what it does is just keeps them and passes them as an array, while here they are passed as an individual element. And what bind does, what the next thing the bind does is it creates a new function with a fixed this and optionally gets argument. So basically what it will do is add to object. Add to object is already another thing. Let me add one more. Done. So after this, let add to object equals to add dot bind object dot to, that is x equals 2 is fixed. All right, so the value of x is fixed. Then we can put the value 3, which will go inside here, that is y. Let me just block it. Okay, it will go inside y, and since x was predefined, y was just defined, and a is called, all of them combined gives the value 10. All right. Prototypes and inheritance. How does inheritance work in JavaScript? JavaScript uses prototypes for inheritance. Every object can have a prototype object, and it inherits properties and methods from its prototype. Prototype. Example. So we have a and a function which eventually constitutes a constant x, which is after all our object. Similarly, y is an object, and y.inc, what it does is y.inc, what it does is inherits this function from x. All right, because it is defined underscore underscore proto underscore underscore, what it does is gives the value inside the x to y. So basically y has access to the insides of x. All right, and once we do y dot include, whatever this is, inc, basically it just adds. All right, y inherits a and inc from x, just like I told you. Okay, Okay. Classes. Okay, modern syntax for prototype. Why use classes? Classes make it easier to create objects that share behavior. That is, share functions, which are called methods here, and data, which is called properties here. Just like other languages, as in Python, Java, etc. So we have a class animal with constructor this name. Am I in the right path? Okay, yes. It's just the same stuff. Okay, it is just the same stuff. And then we are assigning it a name. Then we have another function describe. What it does is it prints the name because of this dollar sign here, and then also prints this much as a string, and then another print due to this dollar sign inherited. Where is the sound? Is there no sound? I guess no, but it is called here. It is called here. Okay, in the extension, since dog extends animal, basically super name, we are giving it name, and the sound is woof. Constant spike equals new dog spike. That basically the name of the dog is set to spike, and once it is printed, that is spike dot describe. So the describe function would be called from right here. The name of the dog, that is Spike, would be put here. Then the string makes a sound will be printed, and the sound, what's the sound it makes? That is woof will be printed. Is it so? Yes. Spike makes a sound woof. Animal is a base class. Dog extends animal and add its own sound. All right. That's all. Let's go to 2.4 and solve the activity questions. Which of the following shows the correct output if the program written below is executed? So we have a object with a1, b2, c being a function, and b proto a. So basically it is taking values, taking the function, taking inheritance from a. So the contents inside the a is accessible to b. Okay, and also it is also assigning key d to the value 3. So once we print this and try to find out the length of b, the length of b would be 1, 2, 3, which are inherited due to proto, and 4, d, which b in itself describes. So basically the length would be 4, and the word b dot c would be hello. All right, hello. Which of the following shows the correct output if the program written below is executed? If this is executed, we are defining a name. Then there's a function, that is output, which will return the name that is described in the previous line. And set the name, basically put the name inside. All right. And after that, if we make a new object a, that is new class a, and input abhi, so the name abhi is inputted. And when we try to output, what's dot output, right? So when we try to get the output, we'll get abhi. What's error? No error. Okay, we have two arrays, a and b. Okay, so the length of x is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then 7, 8, 9. So total 9 characters added. Done. What will be the output of the following program? X and x dot sort. It has to be sorted, and once we sort it, it will go from the least to the most, that is negative to the positive. 9 minus 9 minus 7. Okay, this one is correct. It will go from the most negative to the most positive. This one is taught in lecture 2.3. I taught it there. Oh, come on, don't do this. Abhi 9 most negative to the most positive. If you do b minus a, then it will go to the from most positive to the least positive. All right, let's check the answers. How many of it are correct? Okay, there's one mistake that I did. Where is the mistake? Okay, undefined and hello. So what's the mistake that I did? B dot length. How is it undefined? Okay, how is it undefined? Let me check. Okay, it's undefined because proto does not add. It is not an extension. All right, this is not extending. Proto will give access and not add this a object inside b. That was my mistake. Okay, done. Then is it correct? Okay, now it's correct. Okay, guys, for the live stream, guys, you guys wait here. For guys who are seeing this in video, sayonara. Let's meet on the next video. For the guys watching video, welcome back to the series. For the guys on live stream, welcome back to the live stream. Okay, so let's start with lecture number 2.5 and let's understand asynchrony. Okay, what is asynchrony? Asynchrony, okay, let me arrange this. Okay, asynchrony basically means that multiple event or tasks can happen independently without being tightly coordinated in time. In JavaScript, this is crucial for building responsive applications, especially in the browser, because it allows your code to handle things like user input, network request, and timers without freezing or blocking. So, suppose a function is currently running and you click on something, that click should be registered and should be considered valid, All right. So let's move forward. The call stack. How does calls work? Function calls in any programming languages are like taking a branch in your code. So you jump to a function, run its instruction, and then return to where you left off. Okay, you have a function. Okay, I did a mistake. You have a function. So you basically jump into what it is, you run what the function does, and then you return where you left. Okay, that is what you are doing. The call stack is a data structure that keeps the track of where you are in a program, especially when the function or the when the functions call other functions. All right, so suppose this is an entire page. So there's a call stack which keeps track of where I am. I can reload this page, I can go back, I can go in front, I can click here to go to school, I can click here to basically go into any of these options, right? But there still is there still is a program that keeps track of where my cursor is basically. All right, each of the function call creates a stack frame. So every call function will create a stack frame. What's a stack frame? Something like this, just in boxes. I cannot draw boxes. I can draw this beautiful caterpillar. Anna, look at this Kamu. Isn't it a cutie? Let's make it a butterfly. Butterfly, 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 butterfly. Where are you going? Where are you going? Okay, I got distracted. Enough distraction for me. So basically a stack frame is made. When the function finishes, the frame is removed. Okay, basically popped from the stack. Okay, and the control returns to the previous function. Example, main calls f. So let me, main calls f, then f calls g, then g calls h. The stack buildup goes like main, then f, then g, then h. When h function is finished, h program is finished, you can return to g, then you can return to f, and only then can you return to main. There is no provision given once h is completed for you to return from h to main. All right, that's basically what this is saying. Let's bring this down to the next page. The event and task queue. Java adds two more concepts to handle asynchrony. Again, let's remember what asynchrony is. Asynchrony is basically multiple events or tasks can be basically independently executed without being tightly coordinated in time. Let's understand this line a bit more. What does without being tightly coordinated in line mean? All right, and then we'll increase the pace. Trader. Okay. and do not need to happen one after another in a strict sequence. In other words, tasks can run and complete different at different times without waiting for each other to finish. Okay. So the stack thing is different, and this asynchronous thing is different. Okay. So basically, it means that I have multiple browsers open. Okay, let me open multiple browsers. Let me open YouTube in one. Let me open email in one, and every one of them can work independently without worrying whether the other one is executed or not, right? So let me close this and this. Okay, still there's no uh, effect on the main program. All right. So what does event loop do and task queue do? Okay, so event loop continuously checks if the call stack is empty. If the stack is empty, it takes the next task from the task queue and puts it into the stack to execute. So basically, these two are concepts that go hand in hand. A queue, not a stack, that holds task without waiting to be run. Okay, tasks can come from user events like clicks, timers, or network responses. How it works? So basically, when a task is running on the call stack, nothing else can run. Okay, okay, just give me 1 second. There is somehow ants biting me. No worries. So when the stack is empty, uh, okay, no worries, no worries. Huh. When the task is running on a call stack and nothing else can run. All right. When the stack is empty, the event loop takes the next task from the queue and runs it. Why? This is why long-running codes like big loops can freeze the browser. It blocks the stack, so no other task can run. Run to completion semantics. Okay, basically JavaScript guarantees once a task starts running, it will finish before the next task is picked up. Okay, if you write a code that never ends like an infinite loop, it will block everything else. So how do we check it? So let's say if we have this, then I go to this. Without this being loaded, let's not go here. Without this being loaded, I cannot do anything here. All right, for this hierarchy, for this stack. So once I click on this, once this is completely loaded, only then can I do something else. Let's go to YouTube. Let's go to this. Let's go to how to waste your life. Basically, you get what I'm saying, right? Why asynchrony matters? Why asynchrony matters? Okay, let's read why does it matter. All right. I did that this time. There's no numbering here. All right, no worries. So basically, asynchrony deals with two things. One is responsiveness, and the other is user experience. Okay, Okay, so basically, a code which is asynchronous will allow JS to handle slow operations. So there's network issue, your PC is lagging, the code is infinite, and all the other events that can hamper your experience. Basically, it matters. The responsiveness matters. So basically, the code will run without freezing the user interface. All right. Without freezing the user interface, the code will still run. And due to this, the user experience will obviously improve. Browser can continue responding to clicks, typing, and other events while waiting for slow tasks to finish. Okay, so just as we saw here in the YouTube case, everything else is loading, and yet there are some buttons that I can do. See, I can click here, I can click here. Alright, there are a few things that I can do without the entire page being loaded. Then there's callbacks, the classic asynchronous pattern. A callback is a function you provide to another function to be called when an asynchronous operation is done. So what this means is you'll basically complete a task and then call a function within a function using a function. Okay, so you are using this function to call this function when a given asynchronous operation is completed. All right. So an example, when fetching data from a server, so I'm here at my laptop, I want to fetch some data from, let's say, google.com, amazon.com, and I can pass a callback to handle the result when it arrives. All right. Then there's this node.js, example node.js. I was not scrolling. Okay. So there are two types of code, that is, one is node, synchronous, blocks everything. So try. So data will fetch something from a txt file and then print it. And if there's an error, then the error function will run. Okay. However, in the asynchronous one, both of these will go hand in hand. Error finding and printing of the data inside the txt file will go hand in hand. If there's an error, return the error first and then print the console data. So basically, the synchronous version blocks the program until the file is read, and the asynchronous version lets the program keep running, and the callback is called when the file is ready. All right. So basically, you will get the file when it's ready, when the error is identified. All right. Both of these will run side by side. The event loop in practice. When you perform an asynchronous operation like network request, basically JavaScript sends it off and continues with work. Okay, what does this mean? When operation completes, the callback is pushed onto the task queue. What does this mean? What does this mean? Let's go to Perplexity and ask her to show us. The JavaScript then continues running other code without waiting for the asynchronous task to finish. Okay. When the background task finishes, it pulls. Okay, I will plug in my PC first because I do not want all of this hard work to go to him. Let's not get this hard work wasted. Okay. So when the background task finishes, it calls back the function is. Its callback function is placed into the task queue, also called the callback queue. The event loop is a mechanism that constantly checks if the call stack is empty. If the call stack is empty, then the event loop takes the first callback from task queue. Okay, let's ask it to show me visually to make me understand better. All right. If this works, I'm a genius. However, this will take some time. Till then, let's go. The JavaScript runs in a single thread, one thing at a time. Okay. Asynchronous is achieved using event loop and callback, not by running multiple threads in parallel. Okay. This design keeps the things simple and avoid many bugs. Modern asynchronous patterns. What are they? Basically, there are two things in the modern asynchronous patterns. Basically, promises and async wait. What is a promise? A promise is a new way to handle asynchrony, making the code easier to read and manage. Where, whereas await, basically the syntax lets you write the asynchronous code that looks almost like the regular synchronous code. Okay, you take away. Okay, so basically call stack, synchronous code, asynchronous task queue, call back here. Okay. Let's solve some questions to understand it better. A plus I, that is comma 10. So basically x is an array, y is another function wherein x dot reduce is used, and inside that a and I wherein a plus I comma 10. So what does this mean? Let's ask GPT again. X is an array, then we have v such that x dot reduce is used, a comma I such that a plus I comma 10, and console.log v. Let's see what does this give us back. Okay, till this happens, let's go on to, okay, there are only two questions. What is run to completion semantics in the context of JavaScript? A task from the task queue will be pushed to the call stack only if the call stack is empty. Okay, task from the task queue will be pushed to the call stack even if the call stack is not empty. The task from the task pushed, okay, the task from the call stack will be pushed. So, okay, so firstly, it's the task from the task queue that is pushed and not from the call stack. It does not go the other way around. So basically, first option is correct. And let's understand the other question. 1, 2, 3, 4. Processes each element. Okay, what this function does is processes each element of array accumulating a single result. It's a function accumulator and current value. Starts at 10, then I1, a plus I11, second iteration 11, I2 13. Okay. So basically adds all of this, adds all of the values here individually and then adds it to 10. That's what this is doing. So in this case 10 plus 21 is 31. Okay, this was easy. However, I do agree that the explanation of this one was not up to the mark. I will try to upload another video for this. Till then, watch this, because this one, this video right here has beautiful visuals which will help you understand it better. Okay, and it's just 26 minutes long. Till then, the live people wait here, and the and the people who are watching it on video, let's meet in the next video, and I'll try to make that video better. Hello, hello. Let's check the mic. Mic check, mic check. Hello, 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 hello. Where is the noise coming from? Okay, the background noise. Let me check what the issue is. Hello? Is the issue resolved? Is the issue resolved? I hope the issue is resolved. Is the issue resolved or not? Let us check what the problem might be. Is the issue resolved or not? Let us check what the problem might be. So the problem most probably is in the microphone itself. Okay, let me try to resolve this. Please. Let me try to resolve this. Please. Please, the issue. Please, the issue. Oh Lord, please the issue get resolved. Please, 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 please. I hope the issue is resolved. Let's check. Okay, so finally the issue got resolved by God's grace, because only a really small part was left. Okay, so the mic was on. No worries. The class starts from here. Let's start with lecture number 2.6. Let me check once whether the voice is clear or not. Let's start with lecture number 2.6. Okay, everything is going as expected. Uh, so Jason, what is Jason? Who is Jason? Jason has a full form, and here in JavaScript we'll call it JavaScript Object Notation, which is basically a lightweight text-based format for storing what? Storing and exchanging what? Data. It looks very similar to the JavaScript object, but is always a string. Okay, so basically it always stores stuff in the form of strings. So what is the purpose? So easily transfer data between computer programs and internet. Okay, so easy transfer of data. Okay, between computer programs and or over the internet. So here we have an object. Since it is JavaScript object notation, so the object key is also in double quotes and the value is also in double quotes. All right. Mhm. Why use JSON? We use JSON because it is universal, simple, and reliable. Universal meaning it is almost used in every programming language. It is simple because it is easy to use, read, and write, both for humans and for computers, meaning AI. It is also reliable. The format is frozen, meaning it won't change, so your code won't break in future. So let's start with JSON and JavaScript. Okay, JSON and JavaScript. Basically, there is stringify and parse. Only two main things that we need to study here: stringify and parse. So, what is stringify? Basically, it converts JavaScript objects into JSON strings. Okay, and basically sends data over a network, saving it into a file and displays it as a text. So we have let cat with key name and sound and respective values being Tom and Meow. If we stringify, if we stringify this cat object, then the return output would be an object containing this. Understood? Okay. And what is parse? Basically converts JSON back to JavaScript. Okay, so basically stringify converts it into JSON, JS to JSON, and parse converts JSON to JS. If we run this JSON string, if we run this JSON string, having this inside this, basically a JSON script, JSON wording language, JSON object, and when we parse it, what we'll get is Tom. When we are calling the name in this cat object, which is already being converted into JS format. Let's see an advanced example. We have cat, we have its constructor name, which gives us different names for the given cat, but all of these cats will meow, and we have a function inside this which will basically use the name that we give it, and then add a string besides it, and add the sound, which basically will be meow. And static method to create a cat from JSON object. Static from JSON object, basically this static from JSON object, that cat equals to new cat object dot name, cat dot sound equals object dot sound, return cat. Let's see is new cat Tom. We're defining a new cat object Tom, and then we are trying to describe it. Basically, Tom makes a sound meow. And once we do this, we do JSON.stringify of this C, then we'll get name as Tom and sound as meow, but all of them inside double quotes. And to convert them back, we'll have this passed object variable which stores JSON.pass, and we all know that pass will convert JSON format back into JS. We'll have Tom makes the sound meow. Then we just have summary. So let's go on here and immediately just answer this. We have a constructor here in activity 2.6. First question, we have a constructor which will input a name. We give input name Abhi, and then we stringify the object. So the what will be the what will show the correct output if the program written below is executed. Okay, what will be the output? It should show as name colon Abhi, but it will show as an object. The output will be shown thrown out as an object. Okay, if in the next question we stringify and then parse temp is stringifying object, and then what we are doing is type of when we pass it. Okay, B is a string, it will be string. Check answers. No, okay, so in this case it will be object, and in this case it will be string. Okay, so the type of JSON.stringify. Okay, so this when we do stringify, it converts it into string. I got it now. And when dot pass is used, it converts it into an object. Okay, okay. Welcome back. Okay, for the final part, let's start solving the practice assignment 2. Okay, let's start and solve this. Which of the following program, code snippet 1 and code snippet 2, will generate an error if executed? So, the code snippet 1 for constant I equals 1, as when I is less than 5, and the type of iteration console.log 1. Okay, so it will go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what it will go. And for I constant const I in 1 2 3 4, I guess the code snippet 1 will send error because it is constant, and once the value is set it cannot be changed, it cannot be iterated over, I guess. Whereas here it will just simply go and take each and every element, that is 1 2 3 4 and 5. Okay, which of the following shows the correct output if the program written below is executed? So A array, b b has 2 2 and then the entire array A and then 5. C equals to b dot find x divided by 2. So basically c dot log, then we log it, find. Okay, so when we are using find, it will immediately go uh, to the first exact occurrence of x being divisible by 2. So basically it is 1. It shouldn't be 1, it should be 0, but let's see. Let's see. Uh, which of the following shows the correct output if the program written below is executed? So we have an object with key and name, key and number, key and location. Then we have let first name alt equals to a, and then we have first name. So first name, we are assigning it to a and changing the first name. Then I think the name will be changed. I think the name will be changed. Okay, however there is 80-20 chances, so I'm taking the 80% chance here. We have an array with a string, a boolean value, a number and a function. The let result equals to an empty array, and let I equals 0, and till it iterates over it, the loop will run. Okay, so result dot push type of element in the array a double r. So first is string, then boolean, then number, then function. String boolean number function, string boolean number function. What will be the output of the following program? Array push. Okay, INR. So this is in, right? So I guess basically this will give us. I don't know. I guess this one is correct because this will in function will give us use the values instead of the index number. So if that is the case, then it will be none, and 9, and then again none, because there is only a single number which can be multiplied to itself. However, if for in loop, there are two types of loop, right? For in and for off. If there's the case of for off, wherein I don't remember in which one, either in for in or either in for off, either in either one of these, the thing is it'll use the index number. So if the index number is used, then the answer would be 0, then 1, then 4, and then 9. So it can also be none of the above. Again, 80-20 chances, I'm favoring my gut feeling. What will be the output of the following program? We have an object. Let me put this. We have an object and a description and a print statement. Okay, so name, color, shape, spherical, wherein we are taking the name and taking the color and taking the shape, but shape is already defined. Description, fruit. So fruit, apple. Apple is red and spherical. Apple is red and spherical. What will be the output of the following program? We have a class. So for this we have constructor which will take a name from us, which has a predefined name for team and nationality. And there's another class bold which extends the player, which will take wickets and average from us and has the role bowler assigned to it. And also it will take name from here. So Bum Bum equals new bowler Jasprit Bumrah 109, 101 and 27. Okay, so what we'll do is the name of the bowler is Jasprit Bumrah. The role is just bowler. The wicket is 101 and average is 22.79. Then what will happen once we print it? Once we print it, there's no return, right? None of the above. It's because there's no output statement anywhere. For now, I am 40-50%, 40% me and 50% them and 10% Ram Bharose. What will be the output of the following program? Okay, we have a class which will take name and team name from us. It will put the same name and team name which will give them here and use this as a string. Also, they will take the role batsman from here. And okay, so let's describe. See, similarly there's no describe clause here, hai na? There's a describe clause here but not here, so I hope it is none of the above. So when we describe it, it will return Rohit from Indian cricket team is a batsman. Rohit from Indian cricket team is a batsman. What will be the output of the following program? Constant object A operation x y n return x raised to n plus y plus this dot a 10. So x raised to n, do we have a value of n? I'll come back to this later on. What will be the output of the following program? Narendra Mishra, first name, last name. Get is first name, and then get L name is last name, and set L name is last name. So we are setting L name as Maurya and then getting L name. So basically it will come out as Maurya. Let's check. Let's check 5 out of 10. That is pretty bad score. Will definitely fail. Okay, so since this one does not have describe clause, yet it will go with this. So the name of, okay, I'll plug it in. Name is Jasprit Bumrah. Give me 2 seconds. What it needs is its charger. Let me plug in the charger. Here it is. Jasprit Bumrah, whose team is Indian cricket team, whose nationality is Indian, and then role is bowler, wicket is 101 and average is 22.79. 1 and 9. Okay. So true is taken as 1. Okay. my guess was correct, but my theory was wrong. So true will be taken as 1. No worries. What's wrong here? Reference error. Okay, the first name would be alt. It would be reference error because you're not referring it properly in this let line. You're not assigning it properly. What's wrong here? 3. Okay, which of the following shows the correct output if the program written is executed? Console.log C find. Okay, so what will be the value? 1 2 3 4. Okay, so 0 1 2 3 and 4. So it will take the first element which is non divisible by 2. Okay, and now for this question, what will be the output? This is the question I left. Let's finally approach this question. All right, so this is a constant object with operation this, return this much. Okay, return trace to this dot operation x dot push p dot bind p dot bind. Let's ask ChatGPT for this answer. Print screen. Go to GPT Devta. GPT Devta. GPT Devta. Answer my question. Pictures. Screenshots. Latest screenshot. Answer the question. Is the stream going on? Okay, it's going perfectly. No worries. P is now a reference to the operation. Push p dot bind. Okay. Creates a new function where this is bound to object p. When called at 3 2. Okay. It calculates 2 raised to 2 plus 3 and 10 because x becomes 2 and becomes 2 and y becomes 3. And why does x become 2? From the bind that happens in this line. Okay, and after that I have pushing because we have the answer for it. We are applying p. Okay. P dot call. What I'll do is make a separate video for this. Make a separate video answering this question. Okay. Till then, this chapter this week is finished. Thank you all for watching and sayonara.